The labour movement, it's not exactly the exciting topic, is it? But stick with me. It's about regular people just like you and me fighting for a fair shake. It's about dignity, respect, and a world where your boss doesn't treat you like a cog in a giant soul-crushing machine. The story starts with the Industrial Revolution. Picture this: factories popping up like mushrooms, churning out products at a pace never seen before. Sounds great, right? More stuff, cheaper prices. But there's a catch. This new industrial world needed workers, and lots of them. People flocked to cities for jobs, any jobs, just to survive.
Factory owners held all the cards. They knew workers were desperate. Long hours, unsafe conditions, child labor, you name it, they exploited it. People were treated worse than machines. Something had to give. And that, my friends, is where the labor movement comes in. It not only fought for better working conditions, but also played a crucial role in shaping labor markets, influencing productivity, and ensuring the equitable distribution of wealth.
Now, the fight for workers' rights didn't magically appear with factories. Let's rewind a bit further. Before the Industrial Revolution, we had guilds. Think of them like early unions, blacksmiths, weavers, bakers. They formed these groups to protect their interests. Guilds set standards for quality, wages, and working conditions. They even provided support for members in need. It was a system based on skill, cooperation, and, dare I say, a bit of shared humanity. But the Industrial Revolution threw a wrench in the gears. Mass production, unskilled labour, it threatened the entire guild system. Workers were on their own, easy prey for ruthless factory owners. It was time for a new kind of worker organisation, one built for the industrial age. The 19th century was a time of immense change. Cities swelled with workers seeking opportunity. Factories became the new battleground for workers' rights. Early forms of labour unions emerged, often in secret. They faced fierce opposition. Governments sided with factory owners, seeing unions as a threat to order and economic progress. Strikes were brutally suppressed. Workers risked their jobs, their freedom, even their lives, to fight for basic rights.
Conditions were abysmal. Imagine working 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for pennies. Children as young as 6 toiling alongside adults, breathing in coal dust and cotton fibers. Workplace accidents were commonplace, often fatal, and there was no safety net. Get injured? You were out of a job, left to fend for yourself. It was a brutal system, and it fueled the growing anger and desperation of the working class.
As the labour movement gained momentum, key events and figures emerged, shaping its course. One pivotal moment was the Trade Union Act of 1871 in Britain, which finally legalised trade unions. This victory sent ripples across the globe, inspiring workers to organise and demand their rights. Across the Atlantic, in the United States, the struggle was just as fierce. The Haymarket Riot of 1886 in Chicago, though marred by violence, became a symbol of workers' resistance against exploitation. It also highlighted the deep-seated fear and animosity towards organised labour. On the international stage, the formation of the International Labour Organization in 1919 marked a significant step towards global labour standards. The ILO brought together governments, employers and worker representatives to address issues like working conditions, child labour and social justice. These milestones, often achieved through struggle and sacrifice, laid the foundation for the modern labour movement. Post-war power unions at their zenith. After the devastation of World War II, the world craved stability and prosperity.
The labor movement, emboldened by wartime sacrifices and a renewed sense of social responsibility, reached its peak influence.
Unions bargained for better wages, benefits and working conditions, contributing to a rising middle class.
This era saw the rise of industrial unions representing entire industries like automobile manufacturing and steel production.
Collective bargaining became the norm, with unions negotiating contracts that covered wages, hours, safety protocols, and even healthcare and pensions.
The labor movement wasn't just about bread and butter issues. It was about social justice.
Unions fought for civil rights, advocated for social programs, and played a vital role in shaping a more equitable society.
This was the golden age of unions, a time when workers had a powerful voice in the halls of power.
Shifting sands. globalization and the decline of union power. The winds of change began to blow in the late 20th century.
Globalization, with its promise of cheaper labor and increased competition, led to the decline of manufacturing in developed countries.
Factories closed, jobs were outsourced, and union membership dwindled.
Automation added another layer of complexity.
Robots and machines replaced human workers on assembly lines, leading to job losses, particularly in traditional union strongholds like manufacturing and mining.
Governments, influenced by neoliberal economic policies, adopted a more hands-off approach to labor relations.
Anti-union legislation gained traction, weakening collective bargaining power and making it harder for unions to organize new members.
The once mighty labor movement found itself grappling with an entirely new set of challenges.
New battlegrounds. The gig economy in the digital age. Today, the labour movement faces a rapidly changing work landscape. The gig economy, with its flexible work arrangements and independent contractors, has blurred the lines between traditional employment and self-employment.
While offering flexibility, it also lacks the protections and benefits of traditional jobs. Digital platforms like Uber, Lyft and Amazon have created a new breed of worker, the platform worker.
These workers face unique challenges, including algorithmic management, lack of transparency, and limited control over their earnings and working conditions. The gig economy and the rise of digital labour platforms present both opportunities and challenges for the labour movement.
Traditional union models may not easily translate to these new forms of work, requiring innovative approaches to organising and advocating for workers' rights.
Beyond borders, migrant workers and the global labour struggle. The movement of people in search of work is not new, but globalization has intensified the flow of migrant workers across borders.
Often employed in low-wage, precarious jobs, migrant workers face exploitation, discrimination, and a lack of legal protections.
Language barriers, cultural differences, and fear of deportation make it difficult for migrant workers to organize and assert their rights. They are often excluded from labor laws and social safety nets, making them vulnerable to abuse.
The plight of migrant workers highlights the global nature of labor exploitation. The fight for workers' rights transcends borders, requiring international cooperation and solidarity to ensure fair treatment and decent working conditions for all workers, regardless of their nationality or immigration status.
The fight continues. Challenges and opportunities for labour today. Despite the challenges, the labour movement is far from dead. It's evolving, adapting to the realities of the 21st century workplace.
New organizations are emerging, representing freelance writers, gig workers, and platform workers. There's a growing awareness of income inequality, wage stagnation, and the erosion of workers' rights.
People are realizing that when unions are weak, everyone's wages and working conditions suffer. The fight for a living wage, affordable healthcare, paid sick leave, and a secure retirement, these are not radical demands. They're basic human rights.
The labour movement may look different today, but its core values of solidarity, fairness, and dignity remain as relevant as ever.
A legacy of progress, the enduring impact of labour movements. The labour movement's impact goes far beyond factories and unions. It's about the very fabric of our society. The weekend, thank a union. The 8-hour workday, you guessed it, a union victory. Child labour laws, workplace safety standards, minimum wage laws. These weren't gifts from benevolent employers. They were hard-won victories, fought for and won by ordinary people who dared to demand better. The labour movement reminds us that progress is possible. That when people come together, raise their voices and fight for what's right, they can achieve extraordinary things. So the next time you hear someone dismiss unions or scoff at the labour movement, remind them of the sacrifices made, the battles fought, and the enduring legacy that benefits us all.